The Red Dirt DnD podcast is brought to you by Pro Laser Cuts. The Oklahoma company provides pre-made and customizable design laser cut dice towers, tokens, and more, developed by a gamer for gamers, and now available to enhance your tabletop game. Pro Laser Cuts products can be found at many Oklahoma City area game stores, local events, and now available online at prolasercuts.com. That's laser and cuts with a Z, Pro Laser Cuts. And by SD Way Gaming, where dice goblins unite. Our friends at SD Way Gaming celebrate the beautiful dice players handpick for their games and splendor. SD Way Gaming has expanded to include many tabletop gaming varieties, accessories, and similar fun necessities to include a service for your dice addiction. You can shop for a variety of products at sdwaygaming.com or find SD Way Gaming on Facebook. Welcome to Red Dirt D&D. I'm Michael Cross.
Konnor Shenold.
Johnny Payne.
Kiri Hester.
Brooke Bullock.
And Ash King.
And we are in the third and final episode of us talking about Campaign 1 as we finally put this campaign to bed. 118 episodes in total, 2 years and a couple of months to run this entire campain. And
Is it just me or did it feel like graduation?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
Oh, I had so many. It just felt like an end of a Doctor Who arc season actor play.
I don't want to go.
And I keep quoting it. I don't want to go.
I don't want to go. I don't, yeah,
Hey, Brooke, it's okay though because you were fantastic, and you know what? So was I.
So was I.
Well, and it makes me
Doctor
laugh
Who.
too because I believe it was Nightmare who kind of like leaned over and was like, so how many episodes are you thinking that it's going to take to like before y'all wrap up? And I was like, look, man, we wrap up when we wrap up. I'm not putting a number on it because I feel like that's physically impossible. Mm-hmm. But I was like, yeah, I feel like it's, we got it. I think I've been teasing this for like the last 3, maybe 6 months where I was like, hey guys, we're on the down, like we are definitely on the downswing.
Yes.
Like we are on the downswing. Like I can't think of any other thing to pad this out because it doesn't need it.
But there definitely was a moment around 100, 106, somewhere right in there, where Ash, when you said, guys, we're looking, 115, 120, like you did say, and I was like, well, that's only like 10 episodes away. I mean, I was like, wait, no, I'm not ready.
It was like after the Shada arc and like going into Thundercrack's lair. It was like, that's it, guys.
This is coming to an end.
That's it.
So did we figure out how long this has been for the characters?
Well, I think we decided that it was probably about 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
For these characters, which is actually still a very long time to be spending every waking moment together.
Oh, 100%.
And that we saw.
I need to get away from Gaz. I'm so tired of his smell. He just always smells like wet orc, and it's just.
Everything's quiet, everything's
you'll
chill. All of a
sleep
sudden,
next
you're
to
just loud.
stinky wildfire.
Gaz recently found Old Spice, so I don't.
Listen, wildfire is a clean stink. It's a pure stink.
I love the idea. Old Spice, if you're ever looking to sponsor a D&D campaign, we have the guy for you.
Dude,
Look at him. Look at me. You're on a horse.
I'm imagining Bruce Campbell at the piano playing "Hungry Like a Wolf," but has his loincloth.
We go back to when this all started with the pilot episode, and then our first time that we got into the last stop was amazing, and the fact that this was our first destination.
These are the people in your neighborhood.
Yeah, and we didn't leave the last stop.
Oh my God!
And Konnor was pissed about it.
Personal friends were like, so when are you guys going to go out and map the frontier? And it's like,
not
I don't know. I'm sorry. I think we're trolled, and this game is actually about going out to the frontier.
It wasn't our fault, Dr. Jones. It was the DM. They created fantastic places for us to explore.
There were 2 times, though, where we seriously, heavy duty, packed up,
We were-
shocked,
We did. We
got
did.
things ready.
We were so
I'm gonna
ready
go
to
tell
go.
Konnor to, okay, it's time.
The
And
cart's packed.
Yeah.
It's got everything in the wagon.
Yeah.
We had that. We had that when we were all done. Everything was ready to go because we had our arc of dealing with our backstory and finally coming back together. Okay, we're
gonna go.
we're packed up. We're ready to go. And then
The McKees. We
all
have
of a
to go
sudden,
save
there's a
them.
problem with the McKee Ranch.
We gotta go solve the mystery of McKee Ranch.
So part of me, so I have this theory about D&D campaigns, right? So it's like when you're in tier 1, you're basically like you're the local guys about town.
100%.
You know, you gotta, and it was like, okay, as soon as I get you out of tier 1, as soon as you're like 4th, 5th level, okay, that's when you can be thrust out upon the wider world. It's like you gotta get through the tutorial level in the last stop, and then you can go, and it's fine, don't worry about it.
We had a paladin who shoot people dead. Goblins shoot them dead on the train. You know?
Oh yeah.
murder hobo paladin.
It's crazy to think that we were only like level 5 when we fought Aldonza. Like we were babies.
babbies.
That was a hard fight.
That was.
It
Aldonza
was.
was a hard fight, and then
And I mean, that was Poppy's Braveheart speech that turned that
Turned the
tide.
tide. I thought, because like that was actually one of those, like I thought that arc
She
was
can take your
gonna
lives, but she
be-
cannot take your freedom.
I thought that arc was actually going to be a little longer because I was going to have it, like I'd put in my notes, like the 3 different ways that this could have gone. Only one of them was to TPK. But no,
Good
but-
to know we had a 2 out of 3 chance.
yeah, but it was one of those situations like, okay, you guys are either going to triumph over this beyond all imaginable success, or if you guys do lose, Aldonza will just like bring you guys into the fold, and like you'll still have around about the same experience. It would just be in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
But and that's basically how I've written this entire time, was just basically like I can see the various paths that this would take based off of, do you win, do you lose? Like, I think it was really only the Mesa that was going to be a, like, if you guys die here, you die here. Yeah. Like every other time I built in some sort of out so that way we could continue the story.
Right.
And with Aldonza, it would have made sense for her to just put us to work.
yeah. Yeah, and I love-
Fortunato doesn't play around.
And I love
I
the
don't have time for
fact
this.
that we once we did that, got through Aldonza, we got into the nightmares
Yes.
and got through that.
That's when it felt like, well, of course, this was also about the time we were finding about the Empire of the Eternal Flame, but the Nightmares Temple was when I think Makrin realizes, oh, this is bigger. There's something else going on here. There's all this, there's this whole other world of ancient history that is still active somehow. We have Dragonborn that are still in service and Kobolds that are still in service.
Yeah.
So.
And the fact that we had the Aldonza with the teasing of the Empire of the Eternal
Yep,
Flame.
yep.
So we had that. Once we did finally go through that and saved the McKees, we went back to the last stop, packed up,
Again?
Where's Jubilee?
and decided to go say goodbye to Jubilee. Had we not gone to say goodbye to Jubilee,
Here's the
We'll
thing,
send them a
though.
letter. We'll
Had we
send them a
not gone
letter.
to say goodbye to Jubilee, Ash would have found us a way.
Yeah.
Like, Ash would have had Alyssa come out and be like, hey, have you seen Jubilee?
yes.
Because without that, we don't go to Smithson's and we don't have flying ships.
Well, and then it would have been a situation where, like, again, we joke about, oh yeah, we stayed in the last stop for so long. It was also a thing where, like, again, the whole idea is of, the whole planting and payoff, and it's like, yeah, Poppy's backstory is going to come to kind of bite her in her butt, because that's the way it was set up,
Right.
is that it's going to have to come back and bite you in the butt. And I'd rather deal with it now while we're still in the area of the last stop than have to force you guys to, like,
Either
oh yeah,
backpedal or have
you
Anarchy
wait
get
and
that far
backpedal.
out.
Yeah, it's like how did Anarchy get that? Or
I think
know.
we've talked about this before, but
But yeah.
when was the moment whenever you went, oh yeah, that's coming to get you, Kiri? Poppy. Like
Coming to get
The
you,
pilot.
Bob.
was it the pilot with like
Pretty much.
I would
in the
say-
pilot you do be like you.
As
you
soon
do
as
be like,
as long as I can get out of town, he won't chase
that's
me.
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the line. That's just gotta
Yeah.
go.
You're like, stop telling people who you are. Someone's going to find you.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
He's a
It was like,
businessman. They don't do nothing.
Yeah, like between all of that and like the pilot episode, it's like I was like, I know this is gonna come back and bite you in the butt. I'm just not sure when, but I'm also just like, I need this to come back and bite you in the butt in such a way that it makes you want to continue on
Right.
and not like
Not go back.
go back, because like we can't, like we can only go forward, we cannot go back.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
That did
will
introduce us to one of the coolest evil NPCs
Oh
we've ever
my gosh,
met. Unfortunately,
Anarchy.
we were all disappointed we actually killed him,
Yeah.
which was Anarchy.
So much fun. He was so much fun. I might
He's
just
my
have
brother.
to.
What?
Yeah, the whole like I think that was one of the first
worked
times.
for your dad.
Yeah, that was one of the other first reveals because like Jubilee, I didn't actually have like a full fleshed out backstory for Jubilee, but then like as soon as I figured out that like Anarchy was Jubilee's brother and was coming out, was like as soon as I made that connection between the two. Because I was like, well, what stake does Jubilee have in this fight? And so yeah, it was just an idea of like, it would be kind of interesting if Jubilee has this kind of hidden history. Like, that's why they're out there in the frontier. You know, they got
So good.
And then of
tossed
course,
into a trunk, shipped out to the frontier,
The-
left out in the middle of nowhere with a gun and a bottle of whiskey.
the question that has yet been unanswered, but maybe will be answered one day.
Dun dun dun.
Jacoby Blackhands is either in it. I think here's the thing. I think he's just a pot stirrer. I think he was just like, this is going to be hilarious. I want to see what happens.
So
Did
Jacoby
Jacob-
Blackhand's
did-
actually a troll.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I think
Jacoby Blackhands.
he waited like a week, and then he was like, oh yeah, I did see Poppy. She left town like a week ago.
Oh,
Like, yeah, how did that whole thing play out? Like, who was actually in
who
the know?
told?
Or
is
Jacoby,
revealed.
the other side of that could be Jacoby doesn't like the tea leaves and maybe thinks they're power grabbers or something like that, and so that's why he let Poppy slip off, and he wasn't the one that revealed it.
No.
We don't
think-
know.
I think he's just
If I
Bob
had
the
the backing of the
NPC.
Tea Leaf Empire, I could build a super railroad. So you sold the info for the right price.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So we do all of that, and then we go back to the last stop. We have to take Jubilee home.
Yes.
Yeah, but so you escort Jubilee home. You finish up the arc with Poppy cutting off her hair, sending it back home, and basically really saying,
Bye.
goodbye forever. Do not come looking for me. You will fail.
Right, but before that, I think more importantly is also the moment when before that was where we have Kobold, Konnor the Kobold, moved from an NPC
Yeah.
Oh,
to a
of
player
course.
character,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was probably the most integral part of the entire arcs that we had.
Well, and last time we were talking about dynamic combat. That one was also a really dynamic combat.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
a chase scene happening. We have Anarchy, whose goal is just to get me and run. So he's not going to sit around and fight with you guys.
Right.
And so it made for a really dynamic combat that's enjoyable to listen to.
We had-
It's not just, and I hit Anarchy, and I hit Anarchy.
Right.
We had purposeful player versus player attacks in action.
Yeah. And we lost.
Yeah, we did.
We lost.
Hey, we're fine.
But what we did, we lost we lost Johnny to COVID.
Yeah.
And brought in, so knocked him unconscious to bring in Konnor.
Connor Shenold.
For those of you
Play
guys tuning
Konnor.
in, I'm Johnny and I'm alive and well. I got COVID and got over it. They
Right,
did
that's
not
right.
lose me to COVID.
That's true.
Sorry, Mom.
We
if you're
lost
listening.
him. We lost him for like 4 episodes.
But the other thing that the COVID did was open up this vision
Yes.
quest thing where
Oh
we
my
suddenly
gosh, it allowed
know.
me. Yeah, so that was the other thing. Like, again, I hate the fact that you got COVID. I love what it,
It
did
works
for
so
the
well.
story.
It-
yeah,
Like, 'cause
it
it
was-
was-
Sorry you were sick.
it
Thank you for
forced
suffering for
us-
your art.
Yes, it forced that whole, because again, that whole thing was going to come out, like you were going to meet Smithson first. Smithson was going to take you to the site of this crashed skyship, and there was going to be more there about like there's going to be more clues there of you guys trying to piece it together, and maybe I might have done like a weird time warp thing, like who knows.
Like
Who needs
somebody-
exposition? We got COVID.
Like a that's so Raven vision moment where somebody picks up an enchanted
it's like
object. It's like
you touch something and then you get like blasted back into the past type situation. But no, it was like we got to do this really interesting flashback sequence basically where like, and it basically, my justification for it, like in my head, was it's like, you literally, and again, the thing that you didn't know, I was always going to have it be a Sneaky Coyote shrine in the pillars, because like, there's a whole story there about like Jubilee and the shrine and all that never got to come out, but it's okay. I'm not worried about it.
maybe someday.
Maybe
Fan
someday.
fiction.
But well, no. If
Is
I
it
write
fan
it,
fiction?
if I
If
write
Ash
it,
writes it.
I don't write
You've got
fan
it prepped.
fiction.
It's okay.
I write fiction.
Okay.
The expanded universe novels that I'm working on.
Yeah.
But
In your copious amounts of spare time.
copious amounts of spare time. But so for it to actually be, and my kind of vision for that whole Vision Quest thing was literally like, it's Sneaky Coyote in this weird roundabout way, like, and because again, you know, we've had that whole conversation of did it actually happen?
Yeah,
Was
right.
I actually there? Like,
It hurts my brain.
Will
to
I
think
Opix
about.
remember
I
me?
try not to think about it.
Yeah.
And
Was it a quantum leap moment, or were you there?
Oh boy.
and it's one of those situations where I'm just like, you know, the answer. I mean, I do like the idea of kind of leaving the exact answer up in the air.
Yeah.
But it's definitely some Sneaky Coyote shenanigans where he's like, I can see where this type of person would help in this sort of situation, and it just so happens that they got knocked out, their spirit got knocked into the ethereal in that moment, and so I as a god can just hurl him back through time,
Right.
stick him into a different body, and then he goes and helps out, because like my whole thought process was, it's like Eopix had gotten captured during when he was trying to infiltrate the ship, and he wouldn't have gotten out if it hadn't been for you.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
really, Sneaky Coyote
Mind-blowing.
needs to thank me
Whoa.
for knocking Zonimus out.
So Sneaky Coyote needs to thank me for wanting to chase after you, to cause you to knock me out.
So really, Sneaky Coyote needs to thank Alistair Teely.
for meeting my mother and having me.
Then he has to actually thank Jacoby Blackhand for sending us.
And then Sneaky Coyote ends up just realizing, wait, I just have to thank myself. Because I'm the god of chaos,
go.
and I therefore set all things into motion.
So we had that.
So we get back, and what was really weird about this is that then we finally pack up to leave the last stop. By the time we are leaving the last stop, we realize we are no longer going out to map the frontier. This is the first time we went, we're not doing this anymore.
Right.
If we had left,
Because
at
we're
any
also-
other point, we are leaving to
would've been
map
like,
the frontier. But we actually went, we're not, this is not what with all the clues that we've been
Because
given.
we're 40 episodes deep at that point.
We've actually got to go find
We're going to
Smithson.
save the frontier.
We'd run into those strangers who were trying to steal the Firestone for Smithson. It's like
first
we're
encounter
no
with
longer
Evelyn
mapping.
Walker and
We've got to
Mordecai.
figure out what's going on.
And that's when, for Brooke the player, and then also Makrin, that's where the idea was born at Smithson's of they can't find out about this. Like, it just can't be translatable to the Dwarven Empire because, and that's where the idea of two journals and Makrin really struggling with, oh my gosh, am I going to be loyal to the purpose I was called for, or protect these people out here, all of these people, the culture and stuff, and he wrestles with that for a while.
Of course, and then I also think that we need to go back and do a counter of how many times did I say to check the journal?
This is why. So Evelyn and Mordecai come in, and I'm sure it wasn't, but it also felt like a device for Ash to be like, look at the freaking journal.
You get like Mordecai, who's like a nerd when it comes to like the history of the frontier.
See, look, it's interesting. Look at it. Look at it.
Complete with diagrams.
I know.
Diagrams and red string.
Please, for the love of Coyote, just look at the thing.
Look at it. Read the
This
journal.
is a jump ahead, but I do love the fact when we actually get to see the original on the wall things that are transcribed in the journal.
Yeah.
That's a jump ahead, but
Yeah.
it does all weave together. It's awesome.
And so we do meet up with Smithson, and we do go look at the sky ship. That
Yes.
is where we run into the woman who threw a fireball.
Sorceress
at
lady. What was her name?
Talia.
Talia, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, we have a moment where Gideon loses his powers because
Yeah.
Daga said no.
yeah.
But
I'm
also we meet
disappointed.
Pete the polar bear.
We also meet the polar bear.
First and
Jumping
only
down
appearance of
between
Pete
decks.
the Polar
He's
Bear.
in the green room.
Still chilling in the green room, yeah.
What was the moment with someone? It's Pete and someone else in the green room of waiting to be summoned. I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
Oh, it's just he's
It
having
was
a
probably
Coke.
Thunderstep.
Maybe
Thunderstep
maybe
also.
no.
Well, I mean, we probably talked about Thunderstep too, but there
I
was
can't
one
remember.
later in the campaign.
Yeah. Anyway, I was saying
we
sorry.
do take care of the woman that we had to deal with, and then I think that was where we had our final choice of where do we go next. Do we go
Yes.
toward the Mesa, or do we go to
Fort Rushing
Fort
Water.
Rushing
Well,
Water?
no.
Well, the Navi
No.
crystal leads
The
us.
the Navi crystal, you guys were like looking. You guys were like looking for Wiley, and so the Navi crystal started leading you there, and then you run into Eopix
Yeah.
for the second time.
who asked for our help.
And
For the first time.
For the first
For the
time
first
for us,
time.
second time
Second
for
time for
Zonimus.
Zani. But yeah,
Having
you
a,
run.
Whoa, I know this guy.
Yeah, you meet Eopix and find out about the keys, because he's got the key, and then the whole Pegasus fight happens, and then you find out about the Mesa. 'Cause
Right.
you kind of knew, like, you knew Wiley was out there somewhere, but you
Yeah.
didn't know about the Mesa yet, and
Yeah.
it wasn't until after you dealt with the Pegasus, and then you went and visited the Wood Elves with Gideon's mom. You guys got to the Wood Elves, then you went to the Mesa.
Yeah, and during and all that could have been waited until we could have gone down to the Fort Rushing Water.
Could have
but we
gone down
decided
to Fort Rushing Water and met the Ghost Elves first. Well, and then you would have encountered the story in a much different way, because if you had gone to the Ghost Elves first, you would have gotten so much more historical context
Yes.
for what was going on now versus, like, I think it was more impactful the way that you did it, because
We had emotional buy-in first.
Yeah, you had the emotional buy-in of, we've met these, Wood Elves, we've met these Dragonborn, we've met these powerful people who are a real and true threat to the future of the frontier.
We recognize Fortunato, or at least the architect, the iconography of him on the wall. We're
Yeah.
like, oh my god!
And then going back and getting the historical context of, wait a second, some of these people are literally the exact same people who, it's like you kind of got a hint from that with like Aldonza in the Skyship
Right,
vision and, Eopix and all that, but then to find out that not only, it's like, oh, there are really powerful people high up in the Empire who would have been Cimarron's right hand who are alive and kicking.
I have a question. Now that everything is over and I can ask, how is Aldonza still alive 5,000 years later? Is her species just long-lived?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I needed. I was
alive,
trying to do
But
the
we-
math in my head for that forever.
rather than going to Fort Rushing Water, we did go straight into the Mesa.
And nothing interesting happened there. What was next?
We went straight in,
No,
half
really-
cocked, to be
we
honest.
battled a
Yeah.
Yuntai.
We thought
and-
it was not going to be a
You
problem.
battled
We
a
could-
Yuan-Ti and a vampire.
Yeah,
Yep.
we thought everything was going to be fine.
We
No,
go in with half a plan and a lot of bubblegum and hope.
Hey, it's us.
Hydra's, no problem. Aldonza, no problem. High-level wizard on a skyship, a little problem, but mostly no problem.
Yeah.
This guy, pff,
Yeah,
no
we could
problem.
easily take it, or we can try to pretend like we're signing up with them, or whatever. our
Right, yeah, every plan that we
was.
had.
We could
If
have
we
done
had
Ocean's
stuck to
11.
the plan and just run, oh, maybe.
I was the entirety
Maybe.
of Ocean's 11. By
You were
myself.
by yourself. It was great.
Bing, 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 bing.
But
Like,
we-
they're not going to enjoy one of my kind trying to
The Mission
join up
Impossible
with
Kobold
them.
edition.
Quotes all around.
We've
that.
talked about it before, but how important it was that he's hiding under a physical object
yeah.
as well as hiding
I mean, like,
stealth.
Kobolds, especially since they're spies, why would I be out in the open?
Yeah.
When I only just have just invisibility. It's not even greater invisibility or anything like that. So Konnor's like, I am understaffed. I am not in the way. I don't want to
and honestly, like that goes back to how Konnor was introduced. Was he was sneaking around, sneaking into crates, like staying in the shadows, staying hidden.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was a really nice. It was nice. It was a nice callback to like where Konnor started and where he went to. So
Right.
it was like it was good that you picked up on that.
Yeah.
We have the stress of that situation, and then we have just the little kind of one-off in the kitchen. Right?
Yeah. It's just like, we're in trouble. They went back to the war room. Guess what's no longer there?
Yikes.
And again, I love like just the mental image in the background of like Wiley and Fortunato, and I still need to write this out, like going down into the war room and having this whole argument about like, you're distracted. No, it's fine. And then like they like slam down on the table, like they're looking at them, and like, where's the crystal?
And then you've got
And then
Konnor,
marching back upstairs.
And you've got Konnor in the elevator alone, going down, listening to the elevator music.
When I talked to PJ Castillo, or when you talked to PJ Castillo, and I said, what I want is I want the theme music
We want
as
the
an elevator.
We want Muzak version of our.
Can you please provide that? And he did.
Yeah,
If you
it was like 2
noticed
seconds.
that,
I
you
was
need
like,
to go back and listen to that. Listen for the music in the background.
That
It's
was
boom,
so
boom,
fantastic.
as
So
elevator
talking
music.
about
It's
that,
awesome.
also we had so many traditional Dungeons & Dragons things in untraditional ways. So we had the dungeon in Nightmare's Temple. This is our bar fight.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they're fighting when Gideon's pretending to be drunk and fighting the henchmen, and Poppy's just standing on the table saying, "That's not mass, you stop fighting!" Hitting them with the water,
Seraphina's just over in the corner with a teacup watching.
Yeah.
So we get some really traditional, quote unquote, traditional Dungeons and Dragons things in very non-traditional ways, which I think it says something about, like, we are also D&D, traditional D&D, but in a non-traditional way.
Yeah.
we do we lose Gideon. We have the whole, and then we've talked about it so many times.
We
so
lose Gideon, but like up until that moment, like it almost seemed like we were gonna lose Konnor there for a moment.
yeah.
Instead, 'cause-
Yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
like
You were freaking
Konnor
out.
came this close to being a captive.
Yeah.
Oh, to being like just chomped.
So like
One
One hit
command
point.
from Seraphina and
Yeah.
Shnookums, whatever it is.
yeah. So it's either that, like they kill me, and then like maybe they revive me and put a collar around
Right.
Konnor's neck, so that way they learn more about like what Thundercrack.
Yeah.
Oh, also,
Yeah.
and then the first appearance of the collars.
First
Yes.
appearance
It's
of the
like
collars.
Yes.
you weren't able to make the full like investigation Arcana checks about them, but
I was rolling so low
Yeah.
during that entire encounter.
You were
except for
Connor was
But it was
stressed.
very
But it was also
He's very stressed.
you were either rolling insane on like stealth or like picking the keys up off the dwarf, or you
Yeah.
were rolling garbage. There was no middle of the road rolls.
I did like I was like, okay, I don't know if this door is trapped. Let me cause like a noise and see if somebody comes to go check, so they open that door for me, so I don't have to set anything off.
and then the Shnookums.
Snookums.
Yeah.
That was where the first time that name came up.
First mention of Shnookums.
Schnookums in the darkness. I did not know what was going to come
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of the darkness, but I knew with a name like Schnookums, it was not going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's going to be
And then,
nasty.
Like I'm trying to figure out like the ship, the still predator comes after me because y'all blew your cover, and
And the moment of Michael, Gideon, how much hit
many hit
points
points
do you
do you
have?
You know, last episode, we talked about completing arcs.
Uh-huh.
And the conversation we had about Gideon, I can say now, I'm okay. I'm okay now because of that conversation last episode. So that just makes me feel good, better.
There was
It's
some-
all right.
There were some really great character choices that happened in the seconds, the round after or 2 rounds
Yeah.
after Gideon's death, that really made a lot of. So I think it really spoke to us understanding character and being able to make the decision. Like Poppy says, I'm going to eagle, I'm going to scoop him, I'm going to get him out of here. I'm not going to leave him here. And this is when Makran and Zonimus kind of their vision, they go tunnel vision a little bit, which is fine. I'm going to take the body, distract them.
Yeah.
And so there's some really great snap decisions made there that I think is really great. And we also, this is a moment where we, I think, see the first kernel of Zonimus's leadership because Makran like takes the vibe, for lack of a better term, from Zonimus of we're just going to let them go kind of a situation.
And then you've got...
And then the epic action,
Yeah.
80s action movie that is Konnor. Never underestimate a Kobold
Michael
of
Bay
Thundercrack.
could not have done better.
Yeah, so
I can see that cinema in my head.
Gideon's last moment was to give me just 1 HP and just like, okay, I can't do much. The Soul Predator still has me. I can't move to act or anything like that, so they take me to the ship, and I still have to continue to play dead. And
That's
just
stealth roll for your pocket, right?
Yeah, and then I just slip my hand into my bag and wait for the skyship to get out, and then just seeing Poppy as an eagle, just being like, hey,
Don't freak out.
don't freak out. I've got a plan to get me out of here. And at this point, he doesn't know that Gideon's dead. And he's like, I've got a plan for to get me out of here, stay in eagle form, and just circle around.
Yeah.
And so the skyship gets higher, and then I make my move of just dropping that entirety of the fireball
The
necklace.
best mic drop ever.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
That was just awesome.
And so we say goodbye to Gideon, and we get back on the road. And you didn't lose a paladin so much as gain a barbarian.
Right, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
As
It
we were
was
into
true.
Gaz fighting, and we actually had this conversation as I stayed out a couple of episodes, and then I had a conversation with Ash, and we were talking in the hall, and I said, how wouldn't it be great if they ran into Gaz whilst he is fighting something? And so
Perfect.
that's when they threw out these sand silhouettes for me to be battling. I'm like, I'm fine, everything's fine. Oh, look, friends, okay.
And you have mentioned before that you didn't know quite what Gaz was going to sound like until you opened your mouth.
I knew he was going to be probably very heroic, very adventurous, but yeah, the voice
Captain
that
Cheerio.
Yes, when he came out, I knew exactly what this was going to be.
You know, we talk about character growth and player growth. Poppy doesn't jump at that anymore. I mean, Kiri doesn't jump at that anymore.
The first time, because we're a microphone, so we don't, and we're not in a very large room. We're not that far apart.
Right.
We don't need to talk that loudly. So then Michael comes in with his full chest, and I jumped like a small chihuahua
and
More
you
than
did for
once.
several episodes. Like you would.
every time he would talk.
Yeah. Yeah, we're actually running low on time. So
That's the halfway point.
we were just going
We talked
on
about
to
the end a lot already. It's
Yeah.
fine.
We have, but going to the Ghost Elves, living a little bit of Gaz. First going to Fort Rushing Water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being able to convince the dwarves that, hey, we're on your side, everything's fine. And again, as we talked about before, this was the first moment that Poppy realized, oh, Gaz is not on their side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe he can be trusted a little bit.
And this is not too long after Zonimus essentially says, like, why be jealous that he had the family that you didn't have when you could just add him to your family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
was
is
awesome.
a great, because that was a conversation she would have had with Gideon, and she wouldn't know how to have that conversation with Zonimus because he's at that point had been very teasing, like we hadn't, evolved that relationship in that way yet. And so it was a good thing. But and this I mentioned in the final episode too. I wonder what the Guardian of Water can do to a dam, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and kind of talking about lost or abandoned plot threads. There may still be something with Evelyn Walker and Mordecai.
I
Yeah.
like
they
that.
did. I
Like-
forgot
like
they
them
popped
too.
back up.
Yeah,
at
they
Fort
did.
Rushing
Yeah.
Well, it
Water.
was really nice to have them here
So-
there as
Yeah.
well. And then we ran into the Ghost Elves, which was really nice to Micaiah and Casa. And
You got your
I forgot I
favorite gold
turned
folding boat?
Wildfire into an armadillo for that bit.
yes.
So he could go up the
So he could
ladders.
he could be carried up the ladders because he's a dog. fuck? He can't
very
do ladders.
confused armadillo. Just-
He eventually got used to it after I turned him into a frog 2 different times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then going on to meet Strom, going down to the Lake of Tears, and a couple of great things was the Boule fight, which
The Chihuahua.
which
Chihuahua
again
and
was
the
one of those
confused.
situations where we really were a heck of a team fighting.
And in that
the
one,
whole
it was
thing in the whole thing in the flight crystal mines, like even like before and after, because that of course was when Zonimus denied the power of Sneaky Coyote.
had a change of faith, if you will.
It finally came out. You know, it had been building up for so long, building up, where he was on the outs with Sneaky Coyote because of what happened to Gideon, and so that's where the bubble finally burst, and we saw it's like, you know, he was stumbling over himself, and that was played absolutely beautifully,
beautiful.
Johnny.
He was
Like,
so
well done.
physically vulnerable, and then
Yeah.
he was emotionally vulnerable as well. Trying to, like, if it was so fitting that I went down and that you had to struggle with it.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to? How am I supposed to help? I don't have anything to help her. And Gaz is like, you could just do a
No,
medicine.
Michael Cross goes, Johnny, by the way, the next time someone's down that low, if you just go over and do this check, then they'll back up
You
again.
could
And I'm
just do
like,
it.
that's not good storytelling.
My character needs to struggle with his
I need
inability to help
fail
this person.
and break and fall apart so I can be rebuilt.
Yeah.
But that
we
is
have
the-
the technology.
That is the point, I think, really, where Kiri understood kind of because at that point, I wasn't sure where we were really going to go with the Poppy Zonimus thing. And when that, I was like, okay, this is a thing. This is a thing
It
now
was
we have to
so-
explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and it was heart love. Like it was it was soul love. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, we go to the Temple of Nightmare.
Learn about
Did you get
Well, we
your,
learned about Star
compact, your
Roads in the
pact
temple.
with? Was that before or after the Nightmare Temple? Oh, not Nightmare. With Thundercrack Temple.
Did I get what now? Who? Sorry?
You with
So
the
to clear
dusk
to clear it up he gets the power of dusk in the middle of the flight crystal mines.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys go out to recover, and then that night he makes the deal,
That
and
was
then
it.
you guys go back, and
Yeah.
then you
we go to
pop
the-
over to you pop over
pillars.
to
That was a
the pillars.
the temple. You pop over to the Temple of Thundercrack, where you
Oh,
get
yeah,
to
yeah.
see the
Yes.
history of the Guardians and all that, and explore that a little bit, and find out about the Star Roads.
Yeah.
And then, utilizing the Star Roads, you pop over to the pillars, where Sneaky Coyote says, "Hey, man,
and sends us down the toilet.
Oh my gosh!
we can go, but you're not gonna like it.
Mr. Coyote, sir, can you just widen that tunnel so we can take our cart out? That would be great. Can you just help? Can you just
I think-
get us
Everybody
out
at
of
the
here?
table's going, no, you don't ask for anything.
I think
no.
it was you were saying, can you help us? We need a favor. And that was,
Oh,
that's what
I
it was
think
like.
I specifically
oh,
said,
no.
"Can you get us
And
out
then
of
you
here?
specified.
Can you get us
Can
out?"
you
And then
get
I
us
started
outta
trying to
And I was
over-specify
just
because
like,
I felt
please
danger.
Please don't do this.
you saw the DM. The DM was smiling both
Yeah.
in
It's
character
already
and
too
out
late.
of character. It's already too late. Sneaky Coyote, the wheels in his head are turning.
But
and
on
so
the
he's
other
like,
side of that,
oh,
Yeah.
Ash was too
Okay.
prepared to send us to the plane of dread to let us have walked out of
So
the.
2 weeks before that, on A&M Talk D&D, Ash is holding this new book that says, "Man, wouldn't it be great to go to the plane of dread or something?"
Right?
You gotta watch the companion shows. You've got to watch the companion shows.
Oh,
Yeah, so we go to the Plane of Dread
a plane of dread.
to deal with
Nightmares.
Nightmare.
I
Plane
hate
of
it.
dread.
I hate it all.
It was so, and again, the dice tell the story, and you can't make this stuff up. You have the
There were some
failed
absolutely
saves.
hilarious moments in
There was
this.
also some I'm gonna kill Konnor
the,
moments.
The chasing through the thing, and Gaz is on his
Just
horse, and then
running through
Zonimus
doors.
just catches up to him.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's hasted.
yes. And the dimension door from Mokran.
40 feet up.
Up 120 feet in the air. We're trying to Pythagorean
I
theorem
forgot
this.
the Pythagorean of height. Like at the distance, I got it. It's 400. Piece of cake. Oh
Yeah,
wait,
hits the
how,
ground.
well, how quickly did they take off? Did they go 90 straight up? Oh, I may be in trouble.
Yeah, hits the ground, but that's okay. Gaz rides by and picks him up off the ground. And, what are you thinking?
Sometimes you gotta scoop a dwarf.
Yeah.
You know, Legolas can attest.
And then Konnor and Poppy are just you eagle shape, and then you fly me off.
It's fine. You can hit him from here. I'm
Yeah,
going
it's fine.
so fast.
We have in 116 or 114, 117, we have the moment whenever we realize that, oh my gosh, all the flying with Poppy
It was, 118.
comes
Yeah.
around, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
with you
Remember
possibly.
everything.
I
I
Yeah,
well,
I-
that I learned from Whirlwind. So.
Yeah.
Then realizing that the nightmare, being able to finally talk with the nightmare dragonkin,
And he's just a good fella.
And
Just trying to
Konnor
do, just
gets
doing
you
his
guys
best.
an inn, so
He's
you guys
just
don't
doing
go
his job.
Yeah.
fighting more kobolds of Nightmare.
and once we finally got to talk to Nightmare, once we finally got to
Favorite NPC, probably, if we're not looking at the big ones, is the unnamed kobold that runs the door on the roof.
Yeah.
Kobold sorcerer on the roof of Nightmare's temple. Like
Oh no, he's
Nightmare's
a
pyramid.
necromancer.
Yeah.
Oh, little necromancer guy, and I love him, and he was the best thing, and he's so annoyed in
Yeah.
general. You're gonna take them?
My joke was my joke was for him was like he's the one who's responsible for like bringing back Nightmare's warriors whenever they like get
Oh no.
get killed.
Oh no.
'Cause it's like the same group of like 5 or
they're-
10 of
yeah,
them.
they're not-
And he's just like
Another day.
another day, another animate dead.
It makes me think of the Flintstones. It's a living.
It's a living.
Yeah.
So we do actually take on the Mind Eater, and again, one of those moments where we
I was
gel.
more scared of that combat than Cimarron.
That was harsh. That was
Yeah.
harsh, and it was frightening, but it worked. Again, we all had our things that we were doing. That
I'll be honest, I don't
made
remember
it work.
anything I did in that battle.
I got haste, and I got to just claw like
do remember that.
crazy.
That thing was nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did think we were going to have another loss.
Yeah.
I really, really did.
We were really close.
Yeah.
We could have at any point, but then right at the tail end, we pull it out and actually managed to put him back in the bottle, which again is
I guess Nightmare just has that bottle.
Yeah.
Well, no, they did a ceremony at the end.
Yeah, I was about to say the thing
They
with the
did
Mind
a
Eater
ritual
was
at the end.
Yeah, so I literally wrote a spell. It's literally called Greater Banishment. Where it's
Super
like-
banishment.
Super banishment.
You're
It's
so
like the thing-
banished.
Yeah.
Ultra banishment.
Well, it's like the thing with that one is that like the Mind Eater is not just banished from like Ratoya. It's like it literally can never return.
Yeah.
Like it is gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Nightmare's whole thing was like I gotta get this thing that does not belong in my universe. It's gotta go and it can't ever
In a
come
little
back.
pocket universe that it can't get out of.
Yeah.
So
I
we-
imagine he just bounces around inside the bottle.
We do
Just
that. We
forever.
actually get Nightmare back into our world, which
Yes.
is a wonderful experience. And where do we go next?
Nub wings.
Yeah, Konnor gets his little itty
Little
bitty
tiny
Little
Little
nubbins.
Yeah, we get some magic items. and
treats.
my magic item,
And
which
I
I gave
think
to
the one
Poppy
thing,
later.
like the one thing that I don't think you guys ever realized that, or ever necessarily like 100% picked up on, was there was a moment where after the Temple of Nightmare, you finally got back to Smithson's and you met up with Eopix again, and you were telling him about your experience with Nightmare, and oh yeah, look, we got all these shiny cool toys from Nightmare, and immediately Eopix was like, you didn't make any deals for those, right?
They were treats. We saved him.
They were
No,
free
he-
gifts.
Because he made a deal with a dragon 5,000 years
Yeah.
ago, and now he's regretting it.
So we go back to the pillars and then to see Eopix and Smithson.
Oh yeah,
again.
because the Pillars was the closest star road.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
portal.
was walking.
But
Closest
we
portal.
before we do that, like when that was also when we send your horse send your horse home. You
Yeah.
send the cart home
Yes.
with Thistle and Buttercup.
Yeah.
Back to back to the last stop. So I guess at the end, when you go visit your mom's, you can have your horse back.
I can have a horse, my cart, all my stuff that I have.
And the horse has brand new shoes.
Yes.
Mazaga saw to it.
Yeah.
A little note attached that says, "I'm doing fine, moms."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we go from there. I think this was where we started to realize we were coming to the end game.
Yeah.
We started let's go to City of Shada
It was definitely after Nightmare that it was like, okay, at any given moment, this will be the end.
Yeah, that was when on the way to Shada is when we got the reveal
Yes.
of who Konnor is.
Yes, dun dun dun.
Yeah. Which, because of, and I know I've talked about this many a times since then, but it was like because of what happened in the Plane of Dread, and like Konnor and Zonimus weren't really like at each other's throats,
But you were.
almost there.
Yeah, another
Like
failed
another
save.
day
Yeah.
in
Oh,
that
Yeah, another
plane.
It
failed
would have been
save.
tough.
Yeah.
Because we were already like choosing sides secretly.
Yeah,
like,
we were. A little bit of manipulation happening on Connor's part. And,
Oh, I was no.
what?
It wasn't just on your.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I meant more of my role into getting at least Mockrin
on
my
his side. Because
Poppy's
you,
built in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you didn't have to work for this. But I will say that was a really great moment that we didn't talk about and that was when I felt like we really cemented the idea of Poppy and Zonimus. It was like, oh, we're gonna go do this together.
Yeah.
And you said, what would Gideon think? And that was a really good moment.
Yeah.
But
Which kind
Konnor-
of comes off of a conversation that Zonimus and Nightmare have about love.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so anyway.
Yeah,
But you reveal I'm a spy. I've been
a
lying to you the whole time.
It
I
was
wasn't lying.
fantastic.
It was omitting the truth.
right.
Which is a lie!
And then was Nikali the Dragonborn
Yeah.
that was back at the circus in the pilot, you know? I mean,
Because,
just all
like,
this stuff.
when I took over the character of Konnor, like, Ash and I had always just thought and assumed that, like, oh, once we get to Thundercrack, it'll come out, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
But, like, after we recorded the entirety of the Plane of Dread, and how we wrapped that up with Konnor and Zonimus kind of being like, okay, we're cool with each other. Like, so that really, like, we were driving home, and I turned to Ash, and I was like, I think Connor's about ready. Yeah. And it's like, I know this is a lot earlier than, like, we were anticipating. Like, if you want me to wait till we get to Thundercrack, I can do that, but I do feel that this character is needing to say something. And it eventually did kind of work out because of, like, we were traveling not really knowing where to go, just going further west. And because of what I said, it was like, okay, we can go to Shada so we can actually find someone who can take us to Thundercrack.
Yeah.
By him
it
being
was-
open, it allowed all of us to say, yeah, let's do your thing.
It was really important. I don't think you probably didn't think about it at the time, but it was a really big thing that you told us and that you made that choice to tell us versus getting to Thundercrack and finding out.
Yeah.
So that is because Poppy is a little mad for like half an episode because she feels played. And so, but you coming out and you voluntarily giving that information, that really like made her, and she tells Zonimus, I just need a day to get over it. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of made that a thing.
And by the time we'd gotten to Shada, everything was
good.
we're still a team. We still love each other. We're still a found family. We have to work and stick together. So we did try to find Tavi, and that.
We attempt to stop an assassination and fail.
Yeah.
But that was a
Can't win at everything.
Can't win everything. And that was like, and that was whole kind of Shada was like, I will say that's probably the one time I was padding for content and time and also levels, because I was like, I don't feel that you guys are of an appropriate level yet to get to the final confrontation and survive. And it's like, and I couldn't quite see, like, if you had gone to Thundercrack, if you'd gone straight to Thundercrack, again, you would have been going into the final battle at like level 10.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have happened. So I was like, no, you got to go to Shada for sake of, in order for it to make sense for you guys to have the strength to face off against Cimarron at the end.
And it was a wonderful. It almost have a sense of a side quest that is so important to the actual. See, whereas a lot of times side quests are just that they have nothing to do with the total story. But if it were not, this side quest is very integral to the total story.
And it's like, and there's a lot of, again, a lot of plot threads there in Shada that, like, I had them so that way I at least knew what was going on behind the scenes in Shada. And it was like, yeah, if we wanted to spend a little more time here, there's some potential threads that we can kind of continue on with. But, you know, it wasn't going to be something that was going to break my heart if you didn't necessarily, like, get involved with it. Because, again, with the Tales from the Ironwoods, we can kind of go back to Shada a little bit and explore Shada just a little bit more, you know, in some way, shape, or form, because it's close to the Ironwoods. But yeah, that was one of those situations where there are a lot of loose threads up there still that we, you know, could explore at some point in the future. But
I do want to know, Lady Fire Lady, does she know Wiley? Or are they completely like they don't even?
oh my gosh, Janet!
What were you doing there with that? What was that?
Yeah, that was a good question. I mean,
That
not
alleyway
all
scene.
fire genasi
Yeah.
know each other.
But do they?
No.
Does this one? Okay, so they
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I like that too, because it
Yeah.
also gives the answer to the not all fire genasi are necessarily bad. I mean,
And it
No,
also
no, I don't think
gives.
so at all.
she's a roguish type character, but that's
Yeah.
fine. you
It
know?
and
helped
it's-
us as players or as
Yeah.
characters know that, you know, maybe we have a little, we're all, you know, like, oh, we should
Maybe
live
we're
together and
quick
get
to
together.
judge
But
from
we
time to
did have a
time.
touch
Yeah.
of prejudice ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So-
Well, and
The
it was one of those
kobolds.
things- Yeah, it was one of those things too that I was just like, you know, sometimes characters just kind of waltz up and introduce themselves to me, and she was one of those that I was like, I knew I needed somebody in Shada that was like the
Underground network.
yeah, the underground
Yeah.
network type, like she could get you, and it could have been one of those things that, like, you know, maybe in future storylines she might be the person that you guys have to go to for, like, oh, you know, she's got like the black market magic item type
Right.
thing, like that you can go.
She's a great contact. I
Yeah.
love her
Yeah.
as a future contact. I think this is fantastic.
Her name is Valeria.
I feel a
Oh.
little bit bad that we killed her pet, but I feel like she could
She
summon
was,
another one.
she did.
She was
Yeah.
a-
She's always able to
and
summon her back,
Zonimus
so.
left again. Just the nuance of Zonimus
Yeah.
with
Hard
the gold
feelings.
and the thing that you pass a note to Ash, and that we as players don't know about until like 3 episodes later. It was great
And-
with the gold payment.
And the last part of this we've gone over so many times where
Yeah.
we have our final battle, but a great ending. And next week we are going to talk about Campaign 1.5.
The future.
Yay.
Future of Red Dirt DnD. The first campaign is over, but Red Dirt DnD is not going anywhere. And we are so excited that we've built this team, this group.
We built this
expanded.
city.
There
Thank
we
you.
go.
I was doing it
There we go.
We've
built all
expanded
the
out to
cities.
YouTube and
We built
Twitch
Ratoya
and
Yes.
Secrets of Monster
Yes.
Island.
Ratoya.
A&M Talk D&D and Plausible Deniability, and it's grown. It's been
Maybe
fantastic.
these
So-
characters show back up in another venue or a thing. Who knows?
Sorry.
We'll find out. We're
Yeah.
working on it.
Live shows, we don't know what the future holds.
So, stick with us. Next week we talk Campaign 1.5. We'll be bringing in a special guest who will be our showrunner. And very excited to tell you what's ahead for Red Dirt D&D. In the meantime, I'm Michael Cross.
Konnor Shenold.
Johnny Payne.
Kiri Esther.
Brooke Bullock.
And Ash King.
Y'all flubbed it on the last one.
That was the last one that was going to be in that order, and we did it justice.
Bye-bye.